wake that ass up.
In the morning.
The Breakfast Club.
Good morning, everybody. It's DJ Envy, Jess Hilarious, Charlamagne the Guy. We are the Breakfast Club.
Who knew this one little song would change the course of hip-hop?
Word.
I love it. This one little record.
Word. Well, let's get in some front page news. Angela Rye is here. Good morning, Miss Rye.
Good morning. It is always a pleasure to be with my dear Breakfast Club family.
Good morning, Angela Rye.
We are starting with the positive of something that was really negative at first. Brittney Griner, WNBA All-Star, is, of course, back. We did not have Brittney for 10 plus months. She was being held in a Russian prison over a weed pen that she forgot was in her suitcase. You all may have been noticing, but she's interviewing. Her book is out. And so she's interviewing. She did an interview last night with Joy-Ann Reid where she talked about being Putin's pawn. Let's take a listen.
You wrote a chapter called Putin's Pawn. Mm-hmm. Did you get the immediate sense of once you had Russian lawyers, one of whom you became very close to, did it become clear to you and to them that Putin was going to use you?
Oh, yes, 100%. I mean, the few times that I would get the guards to say something to me when I'm like, where am I going? Am I the only one in the cell? I knew that the American basketball player had to be by themselves. I'm like, well, this is weird, because normally, you go into the holding tank with everyone else. You're in a cell. You don't have a room to yourself. In the beginning, you're with a lot of people. So I already knew that there was little things going on. And then the check-ins, the top guard was always there. The warden, the deputy warden was always there. So I knew that there was some special treatment. Let's keep her good for right now.
You know what's interesting about that? I remember when people started to make noise about it, and folks were saying, no, don't make noise, because they don't want people to know how, popular she is.
Or quote unquote, how valuable she is.
Yeah, so I wonder if they really knew from the beginning.
I think they did know from the beginning because she talked about also in this interview how there were two different lines for people to go through, and she realized she was the one that was going to be getting screened. She thought nothing of it. I don't know if y'all remember this at the time. She forgot the weed pen was in there. I have a friend who I worked on Capitol Hill with. Her mom forgot she had a gun in her suitcase going through TSA because some folks use their luggage as storage when they're not moving around like that. So I think that this is one of those instances where she talked about forgetting, but she also talked about this experience she had being looked upon as a zoo animal. You can take a look.
And so it strikes me as doubly tragic to feel, as you said, like the zoo animal, when for you, other than playing basketball and sports getting you out of that feeling just growing up. Talk a little bit about that.
Definitely always felt like I was the outsider. I vividly remember like 6th, 7th grade, another girl literally came up to me, touched my whole chest, and was like, see, she's not a girl. Like, the voice being a little bit deeper, the height. I was always the spectacle. I was always the, ooh, look how different you are. And I've always felt that. I mean, I am different. When I walk in a room, people notice how different I am. And it took me a little bit, but I embraced it. But that moment being in that prison and how they were treating me, it took me back to that spectacle of my childhood.
Well, she's 6'9". She probably was 6'3" in 7th grade.
And you think that makes it okay?
No, it don't make it okay, but I can understand why she would be considered a spectacle to other kids.
Yeah,
Come
especially kids. You usually don't see women that are 6'3" in high school, in elementary school.
I don't
and
know.
And the fact that her voice is deep, you usually don't see that. Not to say that it's right.
Not saying it's right,
yeah,
but I can understand.
Yeah,
I appreciate you all both understanding the trauma that 6th graders probably caused. You all were probably those who caused it.
Yeah.
No.
Think about how we got in 6th grade. I talk about it in my book all the time. So imagine if I was 6'4".
That has nothing to do with the fact that even from the standpoint of like you're trying to go to sleep, you know how they deprive you of sleep and torture? That's what they were doing to her in Russia. So she was saying it literally took her back to the trauma of her childhood. We all know what that's like. We all have a traumatic experience and we can harken right back to it. That's what she talks about. This is part 1 of the interview. Part 2 airs tonight, and we applaud Brittney for telling her story. She's also expecting a baby.
What's the name of her book?
Her spouse, Sherelle. I do not know it at the top of my head. Look it up on the internet.
That's the whole point.
That is the whole point. That is the whole point of the interview, but I don't know it right now. I was focused more on how compelling this interview was and the fact that we did get her back. Yeah. Shout out to Don Staley, by the way, who we all love, who worked really hard to get Brittney back.
Coming Home is what it's called.
Coming home. Yes. Thank you, brother. Teamwork. High five. Okay, too far to reach. Also, speaking of Putin, Putin's Pawn. This is day 13 of the Trump trial, where he is, of course, facing 34 counts for falsifying business records, for paying Stormy Daniels and Karen McDougal to stay quiet about his alleged affairs, and for paying the National Enquirer to catch and kill stories. I don't know if y'all have anything compelling to talk about that, but he also is being threatened with prison time for violating a gag order. Because
he got fined again?
He's been threatened that if he continues to violate the gag order, the $1,000 clearly is no deterrent. So he will be facing jail time if he continues.
It's not happening. One of the judges even said, "I don't want to put you in jail.
Yeah.
You're a former president and possibly the future president of the United States of America."
Imagine what his supporters will do with that.
Yes, they don't want to put him in jail.
No, they don't.
And he knows that.
Well,
he'll wipe his ass with them fines.
Okay. Well, that's what he's doing. So now he's going to be wiping his ass in jail if he keeps it up. Anyway, this is front page news, y'all.
All right. I just want to remind you, last night the Knicks won 121-117. They beat the Pacers, and the Timberwolves beat the Nuggets 106-80 if you missed the games last night. All right. Everybody else, get it off your chest. 800-585-1051. If you need to vent, call us up right now. Again, 800-585-1051. It's The Breakfast Club. Good morning.
Wake that ass up.
In the morning.
The Breakfast Club.
Morning, everybody. It's DJ NV, Jess Hilarious, Charlamagne the Guy. We are The Breakfast Club. Let's get in some front page news.
Angela Rye is here.
Angela Rye is here. Morning, Miss Rye.
All right, y'all. Here we go. So Columbia University has canceled their university-wide commencement ceremony on May 15th and instead is having several smaller-scale school-based graduations. And this is after weeks of anti-war protests and counter-protests on campus. While a lot of private universities have codes of conduct that align with the constitutional right to protest, the threats and consequences for students who have engaged in these protests include suspension at some institutions of higher learning. So there is some nuance here. But there are some parents, I think especially black parents, who see this issue as very black and white. Let's roll the clip.
Now, as parents, how do you feel about these protests on campus? Sarah, we'll start with you.
Are we rolling?
Now, I'm all for free speech, but I don't understand what they think they're accomplishing, and that's really putting a strain on me and my daughter's relationship.
Well, I think it's just great, it's wonderful. Nothing makes me prouder than young people using their voices to fight for what they believe in.
Alphonse, your daughter must feel so supported when she's out there.
What's that now? when whose daughter is out there?
At the protest.
You bugging. Alexis Vanessa Roberts better have her butt in class. Let me find out she in one of them damn tents instead of the dorm room that I pay for.
I thought you were in favor of the student protest.
Brother man, I am supportive of y'all's kids protesting. Not
Gaza.
my kids.
Gaza, you better get your Gaza in that damn class before I Gaza your ass.
Exactly. So even though that's an SNL skit, I know we're all laughing because either we have that parent or we know a parent just like that. And speaking of
we are that parent.
Or you are that parent. So Envy, tell your story. Straight your truth.
I mean, yesterday was my daughter's last class, so she's supposed to graduate in another week or so, and we don't know if she's going to actually have a graduation because they're saying that they might cancel a graduation. And the sad thing about it is she didn't have a full graduation for high school because of COVID. So she didn't get to experience what she should have experienced because of COVID, and now she might not be able to experience her graduate in college because of what's going on with all these protests, which is sad and similar to what the SNL skit is. I'm support free speech, absolutely, positively, but there's a lot of students that work hard that want to graduate. There's a lot of students that put themselves through college. There's a lot of parents that work very hard to make sure that they can pay for school, and they want to see their child walk across that stage, and I might not have that opportunity, so I might have to create a stage in the backyard just to see my daughter walk across. But I want to see my daughter walk across. I want to hear them yell her name, and the grandparents and my parents and myself and my wife, scream Madison, whatever it may be. But we might not get that opportunity.
Do a little dance to some pomp and circumstance.
There you go.
That's right.
I love that. And it's so important to, again, hold the space for that nuance, because there are a lot of people who may listen to this show every morning who are like, yeah, there are kids in Gaza who aren't going to experience graduation because they won't live to see that graduation. So I know it's hard to hold both. I totally understand what you're saying, but one thing
why do we even got to compare though?
No, well, I'm not. That's why I said nuance. It's not comparison at all. What I'm actually saying is we have to hold space for the humanity of both, right? I'm empathizing with what Envy is saying, but one thing I know about you, if anybody's likely to build a stage in the backyard,
absolutely,
it will be you, and that's an amazing opportunity for you. So shout out to your daughter, and we certainly hope to see her walk across the stage.
I hope so.
And speaking of our ability to fulfill the American dream, there's a recent report by Investopedia that estimates to fulfill the American dream, it would cost $3.4 million over a lifetime. There are a lot of folks who can't afford that right now based on what they say is the average $2.3 million.
And what's a lifetime?
Well, that, I know, and isn't it changing every single day? Mm-hmm. Like, one of the things that I thought was fascinating in this report is it says the lifetime cost, the highest cost on here is health insurance at $934,000 plus. We were supposed to have passed whole legislation to make this a hell of a lot easier. So I'm actually shocked that that is the number one cost on this report. The next is mortgage. It talks about the cost of raising 2 kids, lifetime car costs, pet costs. They even put the funeral costs. You still paying when you die.
That's right.
So, you know, we have a hell of a bridge to close, a gap to bridge. And I think this report is shedding some light on that. So we hope the kids can cross the stage and then can pay for the lifetime that lies ahead. We know that this life is not easy or cheap. And this American Dream report tells us that a lot of folks will be living a nightmare because there's a big gap.
And that's why I keep telling people most folks in America can't see past their bills. Y'all be getting mad at people for not caring about what's going on all over the world. Very hard to do that when I can't even focus on putting food on my table or keeping a roof over my head right here.
But not only that, what she said, one of the most important things, and I know we're seeing it a lot more because we're getting a little older, a lot of our friends and the people that we know a little older than us are dying because they can't go. They can't go to the doctor, or they don't have health coverage. They can't pay for an ambulance. They can't pay for emergency room. So what a lot of people do is they just take a little aspirin and say, "Oh, it'll be okay." Yeah. And then by the time they figure out what's wrong, it could have been prevented.
They don't even have health insurance to go cover a physical.
Yeah.
Just going to get a regular yearly annual physical.
You know, the other thing that's coming up for me, I'm 44 now, so one of the things that's coming up for me is our parents are getting older, and one of the things that we're not really set up to do, I think, especially in Black and brown communities, is being able to caretake for our elder parents.
You're right.
You end up in a position where you can't continue to earn for towards the American dream because you have to take time off to support your parents. Thank God that's not my lot, but a lot of my friends are taking their parents to doctor's appointments and occupational therapy and physical therapy so that they're good. That's another big part of this.
And I will say this, if you can, and I know it's something that people don't like to think about, but you should also think about, and I know this is going to sound crazy, is to make sure you take care of your funeral so you don't leave that cost with your kids or your family when you do pass. When my wife's mother passed away, we had to pay for the funeral, but what it made me think was it's going to sound crazy, I paid for my own funeral.
Yeah.
And my wife's funeral, so that when we pass, that's something my kids don't have to worry about. I paid for my casket.
Bereavement
I paid for the burial.
insurance.
I paid for that already. So if something ever happens, it's just pull it out the safe and look where it is. So my kids, that's one thing my kids don't have to worry about, And I don't want to GoFundMe for that. Like, please, I don't want to GoFundMe. Please, 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 please.
Yeah.
If you put a GoFundMe up for me, you better not.
I'm definitely starting one.
You better
Hopefully I don't have to do that. Because, we get to live long, healthy lives. Boy, but if not, I'm putting one out just to do it. See, this man was lying the whole time he was here.
Anyway,
all this generational wealth talk.
See,
Jess, the other thing they don't cover in some of these breakdowns, well, they do. They say cost of 2 baby deliveries. We know that you are with child, glowing and beautiful.
Thank you.
But there are also so many challenges that exist around childcare and all of that. Like, even getting on lists and access to childcare services is costly and difficult.
Yeah, it is. So I'm not looking forward to that.
Yes.
That's it. Yes, full stop. Okay. Well, we are hopeful that everything will be fine and there will be no complications, no challenges, and no extra costs.
No extra costs.
Yeah, that's the main thing. But college, speaking of costs $42,000 as well on the low end. We know for some colleges that could be a year.
Yeah, she ain't gonna go.
What?
I'm manifesting the daughter. She ain't gonna go there.
She not gonna go.
She gonna do radio.
Okay. Okay. So she not even going to
comedy.
She was like, "There's another way to fulfill the American dream."
Ain't going to college. Nope.
Okay. Well, that's what it is. So shout out to Jess's baby fulfilling the American dream by going through radio just like you and whatever else we want to do. So that's it. That's it for Front Page News.
And listen, make sure you subscribe and download to the Native Land podcast hosted by Angela Rye, Tiffany Cross, and Andrew Gillum on the Reason Choice Media iHeartRadio Podcast Network.
That's right.
They drop new episodes every Thursday, right?
Yes, every Thursday.
And you'll be joining us later this week too to sit with Miss Marilyn Mosby.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Hey.
She'll be Miss Marilyn Mosby will be joining us later this week.
Okay. All right. Now, when we come back, comedian Tiffany Haddish will be joining us, an actress. So we're going to talk to Tiffany
She
when
got
we
a
come
new
back.
book, I Curse You With Joy, out today.
That's right. It's The Breakfast Club. Good morning.
Wake that ass up. Early in the morning. The Breakfast Club.